Imagine settling into a plush seat, the lights dimming around you, a single spotlight illuminating the stage, and the unmistakable voice of a true legend filling the air. That warm, emotive sound belongs to none other than Dionne Warwick, a singer whose artistry transcends generations, whose hits can bring back memories of slow dances, heartbreaks, joyful gatherings, and everything in between. With every note, she transports you to a different era, one marked by classic songwriting partnerships, shimmering orchestral arrangements, and a style so distinct that it's instantly recognizable. Yet behind that polished vocal delivery and elegant stage presence lies a remarkable life story filled with early promise, unexpected twists, personal heartbreak, and an unrelenting drive to keep moving forward. Dionne Warwick came into the world on December 12, 1940, in Orange, New Jersey, bearing the name Marie Dionne Warwick. Her family background alone could fill chapters of a memoir, steeped as it was in a lineage that wove African American, Native American, Brazilian, and Dutch roots, together in one extraordinary tapestry. Her mother, who managed a gospel group known as the Drinkard Singers, embodied the passion and devotion of the church-based music scene, while her father worked a series of fascinating jobs: a Pullman porter, a chef, a record promoter, and even an accountant. Dionne's childhood environment was an incubator for ambition and self-expression. Her father's diverse skill set and her mother's devotion to uplifting spiritual voices offered her a kaleidoscopic view of the possibilities life could hold. She had siblings as well. Her sister Delia, affectionately called Dee Dee, would go on to pursue her own musical path, even if it never soared to the heights that Dionne would achieve. Dee Dee passed away in 2008, leaving behind traces of her own legacy in the realm of soul and gospel. There was also a brother, Mansell Jr., who tragically lost his life in an accident at just 21 years old. One imagines the heartbreak that must have surged through Dionne's family upon that devastating news, a sorrow woven into the background of her eventual fame. It's not always glitz and glamour for legendary singers. The heartbreak and challenges remain as real as for anyone else, and perhaps those difficulties only fuel the resolve that an artist like Dionne needs to survive the ups and downs of show business. Raised in East Orange, New Jersey, she even joined the Girl Scouts for a time. Picture a young Dionne Warwick wearing the classic uniform, learning about community service, forging friendships, and unconsciously honing that warm yet disciplined manner we see in her adult self. After she graduated from East Orange High School in 1959, she set her sights on further education at the Hart College of Music in West Hartford, Connecticut. It was a step toward taking a budding passion and transforming it into a craft. If her mother's gospel management awakened her to the power of a well-delivered vocal line, her studies at Hart would impart the theoretical underpinnings and technical skills to elevate that power to professional heights. At the same time, she began dabbling in performing backing vocals for various artists, heading into recording studios in New York City with a group that would eventually evolve into the Gospelaires. It was a modest gig, but it placed her in the heart of a thriving music scene, forging contacts and experiences that would soon catapult her into the spotlight. One pivotal meeting occurred when she encountered the now legendary songwriter and composer Burt Bacharach. Along with lyricist Hal David, Bacharach would become a key figure in Warwick's meteoric rise, generating a partnership that shaped the sound of the 1960s. When Bacharach hired her to record demo tracks, essentially demonstration recordings to present new songs to record labels, he discovered the texture, the nuance, and the potential in her voice. These sessions laid the bedrock of her professional recording career, as people in the industry took notice of the subtle emotional resonances she could bring to pop tunes. Soon enough, the dynamic synergy between Bacharach, David, and Warwick attracted the attention of the right people. It wasn't long before she had a record deal of her own. She married actor and drummer William Elliott in 1966, merging personal and professional circles in that intangible Hollywood blend, where love, music, and the daily hustle all intertwine. Their first son, David Elliott, arrived in January of 1969 when Dionne was still living in East Orange. Their second son, Damon Elliott, arrived in 1975. Yet despite these blessings, the marriage did not endure, and they formally divorced in December 1975. It was a reminder that no matter how many awards or how much public adulation a performer garners, personal relationships still face the same trials, perhaps magnified by the intense pressure of the entertainment business. But let's rewind slightly to her time with the Gospelaires. She wasn't alone in that group's rotating membership, which featured well-known names like Judy Clay, Cissy Houston, and Doris Reed Troy. The group showcased a rotating cast of extraordinary voices, and they eventually transformed into the Sweet Inspirations. Though that ensemble achieved some modest commercial success, they became legendary within the music industry for their remarkable session work, contributing background vocals on projects for everyone from the Drifters to Jerry Butler, Aretha Franklin, and even Elvis Presley. However, the real pivot for Dionne occurred when she sang background on the Drifters' 1962 track Mexican Divorce. Burt Bacharach, the song's composer, zeroed in on her ability to convey both a powerful drive and a soft delicacy. He once likened her quiet, gentle moments to miniature ships in bottles, meticulous, precise, and delicate. This encounter laid the groundwork for a partnership that would soon rewrite pop history. Bacharach asked if she'd be interested in recording demo tracks of his compositions, offering her a nominal sum, $12.50 per session, just to lay down her voice on tunes that they would pitch to various labels. One such demo, It's Love That Really Counts, was meant for the Shirelles, but ended up catching the ear of Florence Greenberg at Scepter Records, who famously announced, "Forget the song, get the girl." And indeed, they got her. Dionne was signed to a production company helmed by Bacharach and David, which in turn was associated with Scepter. In November 1962, Scepter unveiled her first solo single, Don't Make Me Over. The single became her initial top 40 pop success, and it also reached the top 5 on the R&B charts. Amusingly, the single's label misspelled her name, changing Warwick to Warwick, and from that moment on, she embraced the new spelling personally and professionally. She was, quite literally, rebranded by a typographical error. Her next singles catapulted her into the rarefied air of pop stardom. Anyone Who Had a Heart broke into the U.S. top 10, solidifying her presence on the charts, while Walk On By became an international sensation. Before long, she was a constant on American and Canadian charts, overshadowing the British invasion that uprooted so many American artists of the time. Even as British luminaries like Cilla Black, Sandy Shaw, and Dusty Springfield found success covering Bacharach David tunes, Dionne held her own on both sides of the Atlantic. By 1968, she stood behind only Aretha Franklin in Cashbox polls, illustrating her prominence among soul and pop female vocalists. Playboy magazine crowned her the top female vocalist in 1970, no small honor given the competitive environment of the era. Her career soared throughout the mid-60s and early 70s with a string of hits, Message to Michael, I Just Don't Know What to Do With Myself, and, famously, Alfie. Initially intended for a British singer for the film of the same name, Alfie became one of Warwick's signature numbers, once DJs flipped over the record, championing her version until it became a sensation in its own right. The 1967 album Here Where There Is Love garnered a gold certification, marking a milestone in her recording career. By 1971, she'd sold around 35 million records worldwide, an astonishing figure that underscored her global influence. In 1971, she departed Scepter Records for Warner Brothers with a historic $5 million contract, the biggest deal ever awarded to a female singer up to that point. But her commercial momentum faltered in the early 1970s, with only a few hits like Then Came You, a duet with the Spinners, sparking mainstream attention. By the late 1970s, a new chapter had opened when she signed with Arista Records. The fresh start led to a renewal in her career, with I'll Never Love This Way Again securing a Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Performance Female, while Deja Vu clinched a Grammy for Best R&B Vocal Performance Female. Her second Arista album, 1980's No Night So Long, sold over 500,000 copies, further cementing her comeback. Then came Heartbreaker, written and produced by Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees, which once again took her near the top of the international charts in 1982. In 1983, she collaborated with Luther Vandross on How Many Times Can We Say Goodbye, its title track, a duet, becoming a modest success on the Billboard Hot 100. Yet arguably her most culturally resonant moment of the 1980s occurred in 1985 with That's What Friends Are For, recorded with Gladys Knight, Elton John, and Stevie Wonder, which raised over $3 million for AIDS research. The song spent 4 weeks at the top of the charts, emerging as a defining pop anthem about friendship, empathy, and generosity. In 1993, she released Friends Can Be Lovers, featuring Sunny Weather Lover, a track reuniting her with Bacharach and David for the first time in over 2 decades. Unfortunately, the album's singles barely made a ripple in the charts, signaling that her golden run of hits might have been waning. By the mid-1990s, she parted ways with Arista after Aquarela do Brasil, an album that perhaps signaled a desire to connect with her multicultural heritage. In 2002, she was named a Goodwill Ambassador of the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, a testament to her continued prominence and her commitment to humanitarian causes. That same year, in a surprising turn of events, she was arrested at Miami International Airport for marijuana possession. In the mid-2000s, Oprah Winfrey honored her at the Legends Ball, an event acknowledging groundbreaking African-American women in art, entertainment, and civil rights. Around 2006, she performed a memorable duet medley of Walk On By and That's What Friends Are For with Burt Bacharach on the piano during the American Idol finale, introducing her classic repertoire to yet another generation. That year, she signed with Concord Records, producing My Friends and Me, which reimagined some of her greatest hits as duets with an array of contemporary stars, including Gloria Estefan and Wynonna Judd. In 2008, the heartbreak continued as her sister, Dee Dee, passed away in a New Jersey nursing home. Only a month later, Dionne participated in the UK television Special Divas 2, sharing the stage with modern powerhouses like Rihanna, Leona Lewis, and Anastasia, bridging the gap between different eras of musical artistry. In the years that followed, she continued to record selectively, focusing on concept albums like 2011's Only Trust Your Heart, featuring songs from Sammy Cahn and Jack Wolf. Fast forward to 2020, and Dionne found herself stepping into the pop culture spotlight once again, this time as the Mouse on the Masked Singer. While she didn't win and was eliminated in the 5th round, her reappearance on a show aimed at a broad, millennial-leaning audience demonstrated her fearless willingness to experiment and connect with new fans. In the season's grand finale, she returned for a special performance of What the World Needs Now Is Love, joined by the finalists, Night Angel, Frog, and Turtle, to honor frontline health workers battling the COVID-19 pandemic. Soon thereafter, she popped up during a Verzeuse battle between Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle, belting out, "That's what friends are for," and culminating with an impromptu rendition of Superwoman. In that moment, viewers saw not merely an aging star, but a living legend embracing fellowship, reflecting on a half-century of achievements. Looking back, it's fascinating to see how the seeds of her artistry were planted early. She grew up steeped in gospel music, nurtured by a mother who understood the spiritual and communal power of singing. That foundation contributed to her signature style, a blend of smooth pop sophistication intertwined with a distinct, soulful undertone. When Burt Bacharach first heard her during that Drifter session, he detected something more than a decent demo singer. He recognized a near-limitless capacity for emotional and vocal nuance, a gift that allowed her to navigate complex chord progressions, to stretch pop songs into something as grand as orchestral preludes, and to breathe life into lyrics that might otherwise have remained standard radio fare. Hal David's poetic lines took on new dimensions when warbled in her inimitable voice, stirring up images of heartbreak, longing, and the quiet hope that glows in the darkest corners of the human heart. After enjoying a near-constant presence on the charts in the 1960s, the new decade brought both frustration and triumphs. Her comedic cameo as a game show host, appearances on variety programs, and philanthropic stints often overshadowed her uneven commercial runs. But she never fully receded from view. There would always be a new show, a new album, a new chance to remind the world that the voice behind Walk On By and Do You Know the Way to San Jose still had plenty to say, musically and otherwise. From the earliest days, she thrived on synergy, first within the Gospelaires, then with Burt Bacharach and Hal David, and later with luminaries like Stevie Wonder, Elton John, and Gladys Knight. The resulting duets and ensemble pieces have resonated across eras, culminating in anthems that transcend generational boundaries. That's What Friends Are For is the prime example, a track that became a banner for AIDS research fundraising and solidarity. Her philanthropic endeavors, from her role at the Food and Agriculture Organization to her many charity performances, demonstrate that the core of her artistry isn't just about personal glory. But the question many people often ask is, what about the personal cost? Dionne faced the heartbreak of divorce, the strain of simultaneously being a mother and an international star, and the challenge of sustaining a career through the radical shifts in popular music. All the while, she had to handle media speculation about every detail, from her relationships to her personal finances. Yet she persisted, demonstrating a steeliness and resilience that might be the unsung essence of her longevity.